Well, hello, my name is Rick, and I wanted to do a quick video on prostate cancer. I'm a prostate cancer survivor, and I know there are a lot of men out there who deal with this issue, so I wanted to take a few minutes and maybe help some other people because a video like this helped me when I was going through my journey a year or so ago. First of all, I'm 53 years old. About a little over a year ago, back in 2018, I was at a routine doctor's appointment and did blood work as my doctor typically does, and he had been doing a PSA test, which is the prostate specific antigen test, which can indicate whether or not there's possibility of prostate cancer. And from the year before, 2017 to 2018, it had jumped from about 3.1 to 8.1, which was a huge jump. So my doctor called me a day or two after the test came back and said, "Whoa, this year PSA jumped extremely fast in a year. So I need you to come back in." So I came back in, we talked, and he said, you need to go see it. This doesn't always mean that it's cancer, so we redid the test, made sure it wasn't a fluke, came back a few days later, and it was still the same level, so we knew it wasn't a fluke. So he referred me to a urologist. I went to see a urologist. He was concerned too because of my young age and having that high of a PSA. So he wanted to do some more tests, of course. So he did an MRI. The MRI showed a small lesion on the top right part of my prostate. So the next step was biopsy. So he did a biopsy. Not the most fun procedure in the world, but it's short, it gets over with quickly. So he did a biopsy, got the results back from that, and indeed I did have cancer, unfortunately. And it was assigned an aggressiveness scale of about 7. And there's two level 7s. There's a 3+4, which is the less aggressive, and then 4+3, which is more aggressive. Mine, unfortunately, was the 4+3. So he said, your age, you're 53, 52 then, you're young. We need to do something about this. It's not a watch and wait type of thing. Many men who have lower grade can watch and wait for a while, but he said I couldn't do that because of my age. So his first recommendation was surgery, radical prostatectomy, which is when they remove your prostate. Well, I was like, whoa, I'm not really ready for that yet, I don't think. Surgery at all was not something I wanted to do, and I certainly didn't want to do prostate removal, not at my age. So I said, okay, so let me get some second opinions. So I started a journey of several months of going to see specialists at cancer centers around here in Florida where I live. One cancer center I went to, met with a oncologist surgeon, urology surgeon, and he again recommended surgery. And I said, but I've read that, I've done a lot of reading in the meantime, and I said, I've read radiation can be an option. And he said, well, if you want to see a radiation, I finally convinced him to let me go see a radiation therapy at the same cancer center. So I went to see one. He said, yes, radiation was an option. And they typically would recommend doing several months of hormone therapy where they give you female hormones to shut off the testosterone because that's what feeds prostate cancer. And then they would do about 9 weeks of targeted radiation therapy 5 days a week. And so I thought, okay, but I still was not going to take just those two. So I went to see another specialist in Orlando who specialized in proton radiation therapy, which is a newer type that is very targeted and side effects are typically less. So he said I could be an option for me, but in my case, the regular radiation that they do now it had advanced a lot, and so he suggested that I do that. Proton radiation is not covered by all insurance. Sometimes you have a lot more out-of-pocket expenses. So he recommended that I just stick with the regular radiation in my hometown cancer center. So I came back, met with another urologist in the town. Again, he recommended surgery, but said radiation wasn't out of the question. Finally found an radiation oncologist who specialized in cancer therapy at my local cancer center here, and he said no, radiation is absolutely, your tumor is small, even though it is intermediate aggressive, it is small, so you could do radiation. So I said good. So I've been doing a lot of research. I knew I didn't want surgery because surgery has a lot of side effects. Obviously taking your prostate out is pretty radical, and he said, again, he said, typically we give you the hormones and then we do the 9 weeks of radiation. So I've been researching the hormone part also and really didn't want to do that. So I asked him and I said, is it possible not to do the hormones and just do the radiation? He said, yeah, it was possible. So we came to an agreement and that's what we did. So I embarked last fall on about 5 days a week, 9 weeks daily radiation. The radiation therapy itself is very quick, less than 10 minutes per session. Worked out with my work to go in the afternoons, took 2 hours in the afternoon off because you have to go every single day during the week, and then they give you the weekend off. I had read a lot about side effects of radiation, and I began to have some after about 2 weeks of radiation because obviously they're damaging tissue with the radiation. And so I started having some urinary issues, urgency, burning, that kind of thing, a little bit of fatigue, but not anything I couldn't handle. Made it through all the way to the end of the 9 weeks, did not have to go on Flomax, which is common for most men, have to go on this drug called Flomax because they become not able to even go to the restroom, they're not able to urinate at all because of the damage that the radiation is doing. I did not get to that point, thank goodness. And so I finished 9 weeks, and then they took another PSA test. By the way, my PSA test jumped from 8 to 9.9 within a matter of a month, so it was going up fast. And so that's about the time I started my radiation, was when it was at 9.9. At the end of the radiation, it had dropped to about 7 something, which is good because he liked the fact that it was coming down, but it takes a while with radiation, it doesn't come down immediately. So we waited until February of this last year, a couple of months later, and I redid the PSA, very nervous about the results, but when I got them back, it had dropped all the way to a 4.6, which is, he was very happy with. This is a chart that kind of shows where it started, went up, and then dropped all the way. This is the last one I took, was all the way down there. So the velocity of drop was very, very rapid. He was happy about that. We'll do another PSA in the fall. And hopefully it will be, he said the velocity that he's seeing here, it should be all the way down below 1 into the 0.5 range. That's what we want. So I had a really, really decent experience with this, a lot better than I thought it would be. So my first advice to you is don't panic. You can get through this. I haven't had major side effects. I have a little bit of urinary issues. Sometimes I have to get up once or twice at night. But other than that, not major issues. They can develop over time. I'm aware of that. And sexual issues and urinary issues can develop over time. So that may happen. But certainly, from what I've researched, not as radical as when they actually remove your prostate. So I have some advice for you if you're dealing with this. So I just wanted a couple of things I wanted to kind of give you advice if you're dealing with this. First of all, have your PSA done. If you're in your 50s, particularly if you have family history, which I found out later I did, get your PSA done. Ask for it. They won't always do it without asking. Be aggressive with your research if you find out that you might have prostate cancer. Do not listen to the first person that you go to. See multiple specialists, get all the range of options. There are a lot of options, and many times one doctor will tell you there's only one option, and that's not true. So be sure that you get all the options. Consider radiation as a possibility. It certainly, for me, had a lot less side effects, and the whole process was a lot better than having to go under the knife, so to speak. And I think my opinion is surgery should be a last resort. So if you're recommended surgery, please get second opinions. And as I said before, reoccurrence can happen, so be aware that it's something you'll deal with all your life, and PSA tests will be a part of your life probably forever, as there is a possibility it could come back in later years. But overall, my experience, I panicked in the beginning. The word cancer at 53, my young age, was terrifying to me, and I'm sure it is to anybody. But with modern technology, there's a lot they can do now. So my first advice is don't panic, get a lot of advice, get multiple opinions, and you can get through this. I'm not a doctor, so all I've said here today is not, medical advice. It's just my experience. But I would really encourage you to get multiple opinions and go to the experts, because there's a lot of good options out there. So if you're facing this, I really wish you the best, but trust me, you can get through this.